should be looking at what our Canvas site looks like if you were in. Hopefully you've been to Canvas site just to see what's there. And it looks something like this, doesn't it?
Yep.
So if you've taken other classes, especially because it's online right now, you might have found out, or you might expect that this class is going to be, you do everything in Canvas. And that's not actually how this is going to work. We do two different places. We do WebAssign, which is an online portal, and I'll talk about that next. And we have Canvas. And Canvas, its main job is really to give you information. That's its main job. So there's tons of things here. This one here, for instance, if I click on that one, tells you a little bit about me. I'm coming up on my 41st year of teaching. So I've been teaching for a while. This is just stuff about Scotland. I think it's interesting to see other people's cultures. And just information. You can look at it or not. It's up to you. Now, the next one is important because what we have here is how you need to log into WebAssign. So I'm going to not go through it, but just kind of skip over it a little bit. You click into WebAssign, you use that code to get into our class. Here are some detailed instructions about all the steps that you need to go through. I think the last time I looked, there was 9 people already in WebAssign, so I know 9 of you have figured it out. That's great. The other 16 of you still have to do so. At least the last time I looked, it was 16. And it's information. Tells you how to log on. And the fact you're here in Zoom probably means you don't need to worry about that page because you're here. This won't matter until we do our midterm, but essentially you're going to be given a midterm exam that's going to be a PDF, right? And you'll look at it and you'll answer the questions and you'll write them down in paper like you would have done in the good old days. And these guys here, this program called Adobe Scan is how you're going to get your written work to me. Basically, you take pictures on your phone and send it to me. And that's what this software does. Now.
Sorry, can I ask a question, please?
Okay, go for it. What is it?
I don't understand. What is it, Adobe Scan, please?
Adobe Scan is a piece of software that you put on either your Apple phone or you put it on an Android phone. And what this does is it allows you to take pictures of your written work, and then you can send that work to me so I can grade it. And you only do that twice in the entire quarter. So it's something you're going to do very rarely. You're going to do it once for your midterm and once for your final. All other homework is in WebAssign, so you don't need to do that. WebAssign, we haven't talked too much about, but WebAssign is where all the homework assignments are. That's where your ebook is and all sorts of good stuff. So it's a piece of software that you have on your phone that allows you to copy written work on paper by taking a picture of it and converting it in a way that I can see it and you can send it to me.
Can we use other ways to make a photo of our written work and to send you?
Yes, you can. If you have a printer with a scanner, you can do it that way. Some English programs already have, if you've taken English, they've got a different app that allows you to do it. You can do that. There are more than one way to do it. So if you've got another way of doing it, it is okay. But I just do Adobe Scan because not everyone knows a way of doing it. So it's free and it's easy to do, relatively speaking.
Can I ask a question too?
Sure, go for it. Just keep asking. I think asking questions is probably going to be a better way for me to tell you stuff than me telling you stuff because I'll forget half of it. So what you got for me, Tara?
So I did get signed into my WebAssign and I've already done like most of the first 2 assignments, but my problem is that it won't take my code that came from the bookstore. Because I've learned that if you buy them from other places, a lot of times they don't work. I've never had one not work, but my code will not take my code. So I'm not sure what to do with that.
What you need to do is phone up Cengage, right? They've got helplines. Phone them up and tell them the class that you want to be in with the class code, right? And tell them the number that you've got and let them figure it out, because it's an issue in their side. You know,
Okay, that's what I
let
thought.
them figure it out. If you've got it, you don't need to buy another one. God forbid, that would be extremely expensive, right? The others, when you're going on to WebAssign, you get 2 weeks free, essentially, because you might not have got your financial aid yet, right? You might be still waiting for it. So you get 2 weeks before you need to kick in and pay. So that's helpful as well. But normally what I do when something like that doesn't work is you contact their helpline. I had a student last quarter who got bumped out and they couldn't get back in. And it was a technical issue where they had to clear her browser history, evidently, and that fixed the problem. So sometimes it's, you know, it's an issue that they can deal with. I probably won't be able to help you much, except if they give you a hard time. If they say, oh, well, just buy another one. Well, don't. You talk to me and then I'll talk to them, because I've probably got more clout than you. And I can give them a few choice words about, no, that's not the way this is going to go, right? I'm assuming that you've got a legal copy and not some, you know,
Yeah, no, I
it
have
for
their
free.
copy and I have the bookstore
Yeah,
receipt and
right.
everything.
So-
for it. It was all sealed up inside of my book.
Then you are good. You are good to go. Phone them and let them fix it. Fine, I should say. Is there any more questions? These are good questions. I like them.
I actually do have a question.
Uh-huh.
To follow on with the same thing about the free trial and the bookstore, stuff like that. I just now got my financial aid, so I'm having my books shipped to me. How badly is that gonna hold me back if I don't get it right away?
You shouldn't be getting a book, because WebAssign is a code. It really is something you can get right away. So I'm not sure what you're ordering. Did you order it through our bookstore? Not that you need to.
Yeah, I ordered it through the bookstore.
Right, but the bookstore should send you, don't they just have those little cards? Because it is an ebook. Oh, you may have, yeah,
they
you
have
can
the
buy it.
recommendation and then the required, and the required is the code and digital, but then the recommended has the book, the digital, and the other, because that's what I did, and I ordered mine a week ago, and I just got it a couple days. So,
Okay.
and it comes with the book, the code, and your online access.
Well, some people like that, because I think having a physical book in front of you just is easier to deal with. But you don't need to. I think it's more expensive if you do it that way, isn't it? Because you have to pay for something extra. Is it about $30 more? Yeah, that's fine. You can still log into WebAssign using the 2 weeks free, and then once you get your stuff, you can use that code to you know, take over. So it won't cause any real major issues. And as I said, if you have any problems, phone them up first, and if that doesn't work, you tell me about it, and I'll phone them for you. I have a different helpline than you because of my job.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I'm guessing we're gonna need a calculator for this.
You
class.
do. Yes.
I've never had to buy a calculator for a math class.
Okay.
So is there one I should be looking at? I haven't taken an actual math class in like 8 years.
Oh, well done for avoiding it for 8 years. Oh, that's cool.
Did a special online program since like forever and never had to take an actual high school class.
Okay, that's interesting. The one, I don't know if you can see this, I'm not sure. There we go. The one I use is called the TI-84. It's a little bit expensive, but I've had students who went to thrift stores and found them for $10. You can probably get them secondhand for $50. If you go online, who knows what you can get. You might be able to do something like that. The college had loaners. In other words, we'd give you one. The people you need to contact if you want to get a hold of a TI-84 is MESH, MESH, the MESH office. So when you go into the Olympic main site, just type in MESH, and if I had a great memory, I could tell you off the top of my head the number, but it's something like 360-475, don't quote me on the end, 7701 or 7700. It's something like that. You'll probably end up talking to Cheryl, who's a really nice woman, and she knows all about it, and she'll arrange for you to go and pick up the calculator. At least that's what she did last time. And you get it for the quarter. And it's free, right? So that's kind of cool. These questions are helpful because I would not have thought about telling people about the TI-84 until someone mentioned. Or I probably might have thought about the WebAssign question and told you something about that, but who knows? Are we good to move on?
Please.
Oh, what you got?
I have a question. So, for example, last quarter I was studying Math 99, and
Yes.
we had system named Alex.
Yeah,
So,
nothing to do with Alex. We don't do it.
yeah, I understand. Are we
Okay.
going to have probably same scheme, like there are given examples how it should be, like how it should be made solution for a problem, and like topics, everything is clear, and
It's quite different looking. So when we go into WebAssign, I'll show you some of what it looks like. It does do things quite differently from the way that Alex does things. So it looks different and the way it works is different. So I'm not saying it's harder, it's just different, right? So you might want to watch how it works and you'll see.
but there will be like a showing way how to solve a problem, is it
It
right?
does in its own way, and not the way Alex does it, but it does similar things.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
I'm not going to ask, is there another question? Because if I ask, there will be. So I'm going to move on, and you're going to tell me in a few minutes the next question. So the next chunk is officer. So I do have an officer. It's at 10 a.m. every day. So if you want to do an officer, here is the Zoom link. You just click on that, and it'll be like knocking on my door. I'll let you in, and we'll have a one-to-one Zoom lesson. And if you have homework questions or any questions about the course, and that's one way to do it. It doesn't work for everyone. You might be doing English 10 every day. So if that time doesn't work for you, I typically get in about 10 minutes before class starts and I hang about at the end. Unfortunately not today because my wife booked a cancelled dental appointment, so I got in just like dead quick. So I have to leave pretty much at the end of this and often get my teeth done, which isn't fun, but it is what you have to do. So normally I will wait at the end, but not today. Moving on, close car. I am going to mute everyone. Sorry about that, just so I kill the background sound. So if you have questions now, you have to hit the space bar and then you can talk. So what we have here is what the course is going to be about. And this is how it's organized. It's in mostly 2 weeks or 3 week chunks. The first 2 weeks, starting today and finishing on Thursday the 15th, we're going to cover this section, which is starting WebAssign. I think, Tara, you told me you've already done the first one. So would you tell everybody, would your experience of starting WebAssign, it's pretty quick and pretty easy and it's basic, isn't it? Remember to hit spacebar. Still can't hear you.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I think a lot of us came from Alex, so it's very different. It's not necessarily better or worse. It's just different. When you put in answers, the whole page kind of resets, so it's a little bit more scrolling than I think most people are used to. The videos that they had on there were pretty good. I didn't think I was going to be able to do the mortgageization thing, and I figured it out pretty easy. I did find too that I have the IT36X Pro, not the greatest calculator for it. So that's one of the ones that typically you have from chemistry and the biology classes and stuff. It does not work very well. It's missing some buttons.
Right. Well, so there's good hands-on experience of it. So What about the getting started in WebAssign, the first assignment? Was that okay?
Yeah, it was, it has you go through the practice. So it teaches you how to do everything that you need to know to be able to do it. It's all pretty self-explanatory. Like it's really easy as far as like usage, not complicated. And it took me, I don't know, probably 2 minutes to get logged in. I set up my stuff and put the class code in and it came right up. And then it's got everything on the home screen and I'm looking at it right now on my computer.
Good. So everything works good, right? So hopefully you won't get too stressed out by that process. So what's the first 2 weeks going to be? We are going to do basically, I've called them interest part A, interest part B, and installments. It's got so many topics in it, I couldn't list the topics, it'd probably overwhelm you, but we're going to look at simple interest, compound interest, continuous interest, installments, mortgages, amortization, buying things, saving for the future. If it's got something to do with money, it's probably going to be in chapter 11, right? So here are all the guys that we're going to do. Now, the way things work is that all of these things are on WebAssign, and you do the questions and you type the answers, and WebAssign tells you if you're right or wrong, and you get 5 shots to get it right. So if you get it wrong, it gives you another shot, then you get another shot. So you will get it, and that's fine. Homework for the first 2 weeks, right? This is called homework assignment 1, I guess I've decided to call it. I thought I called it A, but 1 will do. It's due on the midnight of Sunday. So the last day of that 2-week cycle, you have to get these done. So don't wait until 8 p.m. on Sunday to start doing your homework, because that won't end well. I can give you that from experience of other students. It doesn't end well. If you do the homework as soon as we've covered the work, it goes much quicker, right? So you spend less time. And it also tells you when you don't know stuff, because sometimes you think you know it and then you see a question, you realize, maybe I don't know it as well as I do. And it gives you a chance to ask me about it in class or do an office hour meeting. And then the next 2 weeks, you do this. Week 5, you do this. Midterm. Midterm's 3 hours, 30% of your grade. Week 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This chunk of stuff has to be done by that date. This
I'm so
chunk of
sorry,
stuff.
can I ask a question, please?
Go for it.
So you're showing the schedule, and as the first section, the first box says due midnight, April 18. Is it right?
Yes.
It correct?
Correct.
The next one says due 2nd April.
Whoa, double boo-boos.
The third box says 9 April.
Yes. Do you know what it should say?
It's
May. That's all.
okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah. Oh God, look at, I did it again. Oh, the reason I've been doing this is I copied this as a master and then I fill in the details, but I forgot to change all the details. So my apologies. I will make sure that I get these things fixed so that they have the correct dates. But yeah, that would say May and that would say May. And then it says what it should have said. And that one says what it should have said. So those 2 guys there, I'm pretty sure should say May.
Sounds good.
Okay. So these are the classes. So let's see, all chapter 11 is to do with money. Chapter 13 is statistics. Chapter 13 is probability. Chapter 14 is statistics. And then the bits that are left are basically to do with graphing. And then we finish on a fun topic, voting, where we show you different ways that you could be used to vote.
Hey, sorry, I just wanted to double check. So
Yes.
This first homework assignment is due Sunday the 18th, not this Sunday?
Correct. It's due
Okay.
Sunday the 18th, which is 2 Sundays away, right?
All right, thank you.
2 Sundays? Yes, 2 Sundays
I have
away.
a couple questions.
Yes.
So one, with all of the finance and any of the statistics and stuff, could that be used for personal and business math and stuff like that? Like, can that specifically the finance? Because I have a small business.
Yes.
And the math is the hard part.
Yes. This stuff is very, very realistic. You know how a lot of math questions, as a train's going this way and an aircraft's going that way, and when do they meet? And nobody's ever going to probably ever want to know that. And these, but I think that's fun anyway. But no, these things are very practical. So, you know, it doesn't do taxes, and that's not one of the topics it covers, but it does cover borrowing money and how much it costs to borrow money, mortgages. When you're thinking about getting to the point where you're retiring, it also talks about how to calculate how much you would have at the end of a savings period. So if you do an annuity or whatever, it'll tell you what that would cost. So it's very practical.
Okay, cool. And my second question is just, do you have any idea of how much study time we should be expecting each week, if there's a suggested or the average amount of time it takes to complete homework assignments or anything like that?
That's how long is a piece of string? Why is it such a vague answer for me? Some of you work really fast and pick things up really quickly, and you will probably do each one of these guys in about 2 hours. Not the WebAssign, the WebAssign's easy, right? But the other's 2 hours. So that would be like 6 hours in 2 weeks. That's some of you. And some of you, you have to take time because, you know, things don't come straight away. And it might take you twice as long to do that. So it really depends on your past experience. Were you good at doing math stuff and it was quick? Or did you have to take your time and be careful, in which case it might take you twice as long? So it could be anything between, you know, whatever, 4 and 8 hours. Could be longer.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
I have a question, please.
Yes, go for it. No.
So again, last quarter with Alex, there was a definite required for working in Alex system for 8 hours a week.
No requirement, none.
You don't have that. Okay.
No.
Okay.
If you do the homework in 2 minutes, which you can't, but if you did, it would be okay. And if it took you 2 days, it would still be okay. We do have a counter. So I do know how long you've been on the homework. So if some of you come and send me an email and saying, I spent 5 hours on this one question and I can't get it, I will know if you're telling pork pies or not. Do you all know what pork pies is? Did you figure it out from context?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. Okay. So, but no, there is no requirement. So if you know, there isn't a you must do 8 hours thing. It's a little bit dependent on how much time you need to cover the work. And some of you may well be spending time not doing the homework, but looking over the videos that they give you and the examples they give you and all sorts of other cool resources, because I've got some as well. If you go to Canvas, actually, I'll probably show you that next. You'll see I've got other videos and things that you can use to help you as well. So let's move on a little bit more. And there we go. Here is some resources for you. This one is the chapter on finances. If you click on this, I have a whole load of videos on certain topics. Are you nodding? Have you looked at any of these, Tara?
Yeah, I watched all of them.
Right. As it is in every case, are some better than others?
I think the only thing I would say is on the first homework, it uses a little bit different terms than what the videos will use.
Yeah.
So like one of them, I went way far over only because I forgot to add one small part to it. But I think that would be the difference that maybe the one gal was talking about with Alex. It kind of says, okay, you did this much right, but not this part. This program doesn't get as specific. It just tells you if you're right or wrong.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure.
Right. So these are, would you say it's worth it in general to look at these?
Yeah, they were really good videos.
Okay, so what you need to do if you choose to, because it is totally up to you, is you would look at a video. So if you have a problem and you're saying like, I still don't know what this compound interest thing is, I think I'll watch this video. It lasts 11 minutes and maybe I want to look at annuities, so I'll watch this video and so on, right? It gives you some help. And if you go down here, you see I've got some notes as well. Here's, for instance, some notes on consumer loans, right? So everything here that we've talked about, let's leave student view for a minute. Go away. There we go. Everything that we've been looking at in Canvas, for the most part, has been information, right? You didn't do anything, you don't fill anything in, you don't do homework. It's to tell you stuff to help you, right? So what I'm now going to do is close this fella off, and hopefully this is going to work. Right, are you now looking at Cengage WebAssign? Is that what it says? So this is when you log on to WebAssign, this is what you're going to see. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because I'm sure some of your screens are not that great. There's the class, so you make sure that's there and you know it's us. And there's the WebAssign. Here is the homework. And you see it even tells you at the side the date that it's due. WebAssign will have the correct due date, right, because it's in a calendar. Right? You only see the stuff you need to know, right? I haven't put all the other homework in because that would be a bit this. Who needs to know what has to be done 8 weeks from now? It's probably a nuisance. So let's show you an example. If I click on this one here, which is our questions, you can see it opens up. And maybe make it a little bit bigger. I don't know how big I can make it before it gets silly. Right. You get a question, just like you might get in a textbook, and probably, I don't do Alex, so I can't speak for Alex, but probably Alex asks questions in the same kind of way, right? It's written down as a question. And what we have here, of course, are 4 answers. And in this particular question, you do the calculation, whatever it is, and you pick what you think is the right answer. And you hit submit. Now I guessed, I don't know what the answer is. And just like she said, it said, you're wrong. Right?
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
So one of these does a graph with a line, and I swear to God, I couldn't figure it out.
I will show you that then.
Thank you.
Okay. So my dog's joining in. So what I would do is I'd go back and I'd say, oh, I made a mistake and I got this one. I should actually probably do this question because you know it's going to be my last guess. Oh, Tara, have you got one? Is that going to be the right answer before I do it?
No, my answers are different than yours.
Oh, that's right. I have to talk about that as well. Oh, I got lucky. See my little check mark? So that was just guessing. Right. On mine. So when you're doing WebAssign, right, this is your homework. All of it is in WebAssign, nothing else, nowhere else. You've got a whole load of stuff there. That's my dog telling me something that I don't need to know. He's probably telling me that there's a bird outside or that he needs to go a poo. But we have a doggy door. If he really needs to go, he can use it. So where was I? We've got that. You get, I think, set up to have 5 shots. Will you not do, I'll guess, oh, I got it right, move on. That is not a good way to learn, where you don't even bother with the question, because you know you're getting 5 shots and there's only 4 answers. You're going to get it right eventually. Agreed? Do the questions properly, because when you get your midterm, if I give you that question, I won't give you 4 little circles. I'll expect you to show me the working and tell me what the answer is at the end. Right? And if you're doing this question correctly, you should do the working for it and then show me the answer at the end. And then once you get the answer, it will be one of these and then you pick it. There are other ways in which answers can be done. Here's an example where the answer is a box. And we haven't covered any of these topics. I'm just showing you how WebAssign works right now, right? Once I've done that, we're going to actually start showing you the formula and how to do these questions. So right now it's $1,000, which I'm just typing in. It's going to be at 4%, which I do that to it, and it's going to be over a 5-year period. And the answer, question?
Is it 200? The answer 200, no?
Yes, it is. Well done. And submit answer. Good. Now, I'm going to deliberately pick a wrong answer. Oh, before I do that.
Do number 7. Those ones really sucked. Those percentage.
Right. Okay, here's a really ugly one, right? Now, I could put in the wrong answer and it would do the little cross. It wouldn't tell me what I did wrong. So what you can do is, do you see this little need help? Read it. Right. If you click on that, what will happen is eventually it'll load it up. You'll go into a kind of a textbook, but it's a little bit different from a normal textbook, as you'll see in a second. Right. Is that there are videos as well as written stuff. So if I was interested in simple interest, I'd play this video. If I was interested in, well, lots of simple interest questions, evidently. If I go to the next page.
They come from different angles on the problems too. So it's sometimes worth looking at multiple of the videos I found, because sometimes it's the very last one that you actually look at that really
like
tells
yours.
you how to do. Yeah, each one focuses on a different part of how you would solve for the problem. So if you have fractions in there, or if you have
percentages or 6 months.
Years, yeah, it has different parts of how they do the problem.
Right. So Read It is a resource. You click on it, it'll show you videos, it'll have written stuff, it has worked examples, gives you clues, right? Again, I don't do Alex, so I can't speak for Alex, but does Alex have the same kind of thing where if you click on it, it'll do a worked example of like the question? I don't think Alex does videos, does it?
So it does now.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's getting much closer to what I just showed you, right? That you click on it, you get videos to watch and written examples, and hopefully that will help you. Plus on Canvas, don't I have other videos? And I've got my written notes as well. So there's plenty of places to learn about it. Now, if you wanted to do that one, and I will do that later when we do examples, you do that whole calculation and you've got it. Now, there was one with a diagram in it. Oh, I think I remember now. The question that you were talking about was not in this section, wasn't it in the earlier section? Let's see if I can go back.
Yeah, it's in the learning process, learning
Gotcha.
process.
Right. See if I can get to, there we are. So if you click on this one, the intro to WebAssign, it shows you, click submit answer, right? When you're ready, and this answer is correct, right? So I click on that and then submit answer, right? That was easy, wasn't it? That wasn't the one you're having trouble with. So let's zoom down to the drawing thing. Ah, it's here. Is this the one? Oh, it's this one, I think. This one here? That one. Okay. So plot the point 3, 4. So first you hit that dot, and then you hit 3, 4, and it's done. You're pointing. Hit the spacebar, turn. I can hear what you're saying. Oh, it's this one?
Can you hear me?
I can
it's
hear
the one
you.
that's the whole line.
Okay, plotting a line. Okay. Let's plot the line joining 0, 1 to 1, 2. So what you need to do is you need to click on that, and you have to choose this icon.
Yeah.
And 0, 1 is here.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to 1, 2
Yep.
is here. And I'll go over here and I'll do a little check. 0, 1, 1, 2 looks good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Submit answer. You better say correct. I didn't do all this for nothing.
I mean, it said it was wrong.
Oh, it is wrong.
Yeah, it was the arrows, it wants a continuous line.
Oh, it wants
Yeah.
a line. See that word there? I didn't
Okay.
read it. That is a line segment. They want a line. Not a big deal. Let's kill the. Oh, and look, it says it's a line segment. So
Well, I
go
tried
away.
that too. I went all the way to both sides.
Oh no, you don't need to do that. I'll show you for a line. A line is that double arrow thing. You go
Oh, okay.
0, 1
Ah,
to 1, 2, and it fills the rest in for you.
oh. Can you reset mine? Because I don't get those points because I did it wrong 5 times.
Ah!
I felt so dumb. Thank you for explaining.
Okay, what you're going to have to do, because I have an atrocious memory, is you're going to have to send me an email and remind me, and I'll go and reset it for you so you can have one more shot, right? And I'll get that over with.
Thank you.
Has anybody not on the next section, because I'm about to do that, but did anybody have any other issues with the WebAssign thing that I can maybe clear up now to save you having 5 guesses and then having to ask for help to fix it? Okay, I'll assume then that if you've done any of it yet, and it's early days, so I'm not surprised you haven't yet. There is WebAssign. I'll kick out twice, I think. That should be it. 3 times. Yeah, you do an awful lot of scrolling, don't you? If you scroll down here, do you see you've got... I'm in the wrong section here. How did that happen? Oh, I'm good. I get confused, which is pretty standard for me. There. Do you see chapter 11? If you click on chapter 11, this is your ebook now. It takes you basically to what would be your textbook, but it has not just written words, it has video. So you do get a textbook, an ebook, and that's it. If I click on this thing, you get the full book. And then you can, you know, just like turning pages, take you forever, right enough if you did it this way, but you can go through the textbook just like it was a normal textbook. Okay, is there any more questions about WebAssign? And once that's done, we'll actually start looking at our first class lesson. Are we good?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. I'm going to close as many windows as I can now because I've got so many windows open right now. It's scary. I'll close that one. I'll close that one. Hopefully that one. I'll close that one. Do you know why I talk to myself?
It helps you think better sometimes.
No, it's the only way to have an intelligent conversation.
That is actually true.
Oh, I have a bad sense of humor.
I need that on a shirt.
Put that on a t-shirt. Okay, I think I'm ready now. So we are now going to start by looking at chapter 11. And in particular, we're going to look at, as our first topic, simple interest. So hopefully you're now looking at a white screen. Well, my screen, yeah. Now, what I've got here is the formula that we use to calculate what's called simple interest. Simple interest is essentially, if you put money in the bank for a year, how much money would you end up at the end of that year? Well, you won't just have the money that you give them. You know, banks give you an interest rate. It's something ridiculous, like, what, 2% now, right? Which means that you get extra money called interest. And when it's calculated in a yearly way, it's called simple interest. Here is, oops, excuse me, I'm going to do something for a second. I'm getting some weird feedback, so I'm going to mute everybody again. So if you have to ask a question, you're going to have to hit the space bar again. Okay, back into where I was. The simple interest, capital I, is given by this formula, P times R times T. In the jargon, P is called principal, and P is the amount that you start with. So in a story, it may be, I started with $200 and the bank gave me 5% interest. So P, called the principal, it's what banks call this. That's P. The little r is the interest rate, right? So you may get 5% interest rate on a loan. You may get 2% interest in leaving your money in the bank. And do you know how that works? That's why banks make money. They give you 2%, but if you try and borrow money off them, they charge you 5%. Do you notice the difference between those two is called 3%? Isn't that the money that they make? That's how banks work, right? That's how pretty much every financial institution works. So we have a little r, that will be in the story. So I have $400 and the interest rate is 5% a year, right? You'd get that information. The last thing that they might tell you, typically they will tell you, is the time that you're going to have this money invested. So you might have this money invested for 4 years or 2 years or 18 months or whatever. And T is time, and it's in years or part of a year. So if it's 3 years, T is 3. But if it's 18 months, T is 1.5, which is 1.5 years, right? If it was like Bill Gates, it might be, 200 days. Well, 200 days is 200 out of 365, right? That's a weird decimal, but that's what T would be. It'd be like 0.7123, right? So T isn't always a nice whole number like 2 years or 3 years, right? It might be 2.5 years, it might be 1.7 years, it might be whatever it happens to be. And let's look at that calculation first. So I'll make up, well, I won't actually make up a story. I think it's easier if I just go to the homework, even although you can't see it, and I just pick a question like theirs. Now, when you do, excuse me, when you do a WebAssign question, everybody kind of gets a different version of the same question. WebAssign codes the question, so if it's in red, that number changes. So you do it, it's a 3, but somebody else does it, it's a 5, right? So you don't always get the same question. So if you're wondering why my question 1 from section 11.1 is not yours, it's because that's what WebAssign did. Now, you purchase a new car and you finance it for 3 years. So you finance it for 3 years, you told me T is 3. You might have to pay which of the following amounts of interest. And it says you borrowed, so we'll call that the principal, 13,000. And let's say the interest rate, I've changed this question a little bit, is 4%.
You're missing a 0. You said 13,000.
Did you all catch that deliberate mistake? Did any of you believe that was a deliberate mistake? No, it was just a mistake. But I like it when people tell me that because it's very important that you catch me. So, and I've basically taken everything that I just read out loud to you, and you pick it apart. You say, okay, 3 years, 13,000, 4%. They're asking me what's the interest I would pay on my car? How much money extra would I pay? That's very often called the finance charge as well. But in this case, it's interest. The formula is P, R, and T. Now, P is 13,000 times the interest rate has to be converted into a decimal. And 3 years. And for something like that particular calculation, your calculator works fine, but in later questions, this is kind of necessary. So there's my 13,000 times my 0.04 times my 3, and it looks like 1,560. And if the interest rate was 6%, so imagine that's a different, I went to a different finance company and they give me that, then my interest using this will still be using PRT. This is going to be 13,000 again, times 0.06 times 3. If I go over here, 13,000 times 6% as a decimal over a 3-year period, I get 2,340. So it looks like I'll be paying an interest somewhere in the region between here and here. And this particular question actually said that you're going to get an interest rate somewhere between 4 and 6. And it gave me 4 choices. And if I choose that one, would you agree that's roughly between here and here? And that's my answer. Now, in WebAssign, your answer is just you check one dot, right? If you're interested, the other choices were 150, 350, and then it says impossible. Well, it's not really impossible, so I'm not going to pick that one. Here's some advice for you. You are going to be given a midterm and a final. If you write down your working and what you did and where the numbers are and the answer, this is going to be much easier for you to go back and look at and say, oh, I now know how I got these numbers. On the other hand, if you go back and look at WebAssign, won't you just see a dot at one number and think, how on earth did I do that? That was 9 weeks ago. I can't remember what I did. Do you see why it's helpful to look, to do your working and to look after your working? In other words, keep them, staple them in chapters or whatever you do to keep a hold of them, right? Don't let the dog eat them. Because when you're doing your midterm and when you're doing your final, you'll be able to use these notes to help you in some of your questions. So it's good to have them handy so that when if you get stuck on a question or you can't quite remember what formula to use, because there's going to be a lot of formulas, and that's a good thing. Okay. Now, practical. 4% could be 6%. Why is there a difference? Why do some places give Tara 4% and other places give me 6%? It's not that they like Tara and they don't like me. Do you know how they normally decide what the interest rate, even if you go to the same company? If you buy it or your sister buys it, you could be given a different interest rate. What the heck is going on there?
Isn't your interest rate typically calculated based off of your credit score?
Exactly. So if you have a good credit score, right? You want a big number for credit scores to be good, right? 750, right? That kind of number. When you go and borrow money or get a car loan or anything, you will get a better deal than if you are a student and you turn up and they say, what's your credit rating look like? And they go and they find out it's horrible. In their mind, you're a bigger risk. And so they charge you more interest to cover the danger of that risk. So I know some of you are quite young. So let me give you some financial advice. As soon as you are able to and sensible enough to do it, will you start building up a credit rating? Simply get a credit card that you pay off regularly. Don't get overdrafts because they're considered bad things. Get loans that you pay, only get them because you need it, right? But pay them off on time, do them. Build up a credit rating, because one day you're going to want to buy a house, or you want to buy something big like a car, a good car. 4% interest rate and 6% interest rate is going to kill you. Do you notice the difference in how much you end up paying back is going to be huge. High credit rating, a good credit rating is high. You might end up paying that. Can you see this poor person's going to pay what? That's another $800 more. It's the same car. It's the same everything. So there are some sites that you can actually go and get your credit score right now. So if you don't even know what it is. Credit Karma is an example of one. It's free. Just give an example. There is a law, I'll call it a law because I can't think what else to call it, that you are entitled to one free credit report from all 3 agencies. And you just go online and you find out the details because I haven't got it. And you can get a report and it'll tell you Experian and all the, can't remember the other 2, but there are 3 major credit reporting companies. And you can find out what your credit rating is. And if it's not a very good score, fix it, right? Try your best to fix it. Okay, let me pick another. Are we cool with that question first? Are we happy about how I set it out in simple interest?
So the question asked for 4%, but then you just did 6% just to see the difference, or?
Well, it actually gave you both.
Okay.
And the answer that I got was this number on the low side and this number on the big side. And it says, which of these numbers is roughly the number you would expect to pay? And the reason I picked 1900 is it was between these 2. That's why I decided. That make sense? Your interest is somewhere between 4 and 6. Roughly how much money would you pay? Probably somewhere in the region of 1900.
Yes.
Might be as cheap as that, might be as dear as that, but run about that. Okay, let me pick another example of that. Let's pick something with messy numbers. I want to borrow $20,000 to buy a car, right? I have the worst credit rating in the world. They're giving me 10.5% interest. Do you know those adverts that you see on TV from time to time where we don't care how bad your credit rating is, we don't care if you've been blah, blah, blah. We'll get you a car. Yes, they will get you a car with that interest rate. If your interest rate is good, do not go near those companies because they are not going to get you a deal, right? If you've got a good credit rating, go to your bank. They'll give you a good car loan, right? Now, I'm going to pay this car over a 5-year period, right? And the question is, how much interest would I pay, right? So interest is PRT. 20,000. Okay. Normal interest rates that are whole numbers are pretty easy to turn into decimals. Sometimes people screw up when it's a weird decimal, like 8.75%, 2.33%, 10.5%, right? They sometimes don't quite do it correctly. So here is one way to turn a percentage into a decimal that'll save you having to guess. Type in 10.5, right? Just divide it by 100. And there is your answer. Now, the reason I'm saying use the calculator is because I have seen this so many times, it is annoying. Oops. 1% ends up being that. You know it's wrong, but doesn't it kind of look right if you're not very careful? 0.5% ends up being that. That is also wrong. 0.5% is actually that decimal. Do you see how you can get caught out if you're not careful? So I suggest whatever the percentage is, divide it by 100, and there's the answer to the guy. So are you happy now about 0.105? Now, a 5-year period, that's going to be this fella times 0.105 times 5. And calculator, 20,000 times 0.105 times 5. And that ends up being 10,500. Wow. To get a $20,000 car, don't I have to pay an extra 10,000 odds? Doesn't look like such a good deal anymore, does it? Now, there's a second part to this question, which is Formula 2 over here. What is the future value? A is the future value. It's amount that it's going to be worth in the future, or in your case, how much you're going to pay. It's the original amount, P, plus the interest. So in this case, it's 20,000. And then an interest of 10,500. So by the time you've finished paying for this car, can you see that the car is actually going to cost you 30,500? This is called very often the finance charge. That's how much you pay just for the pleasure of getting your new car today. Now, if you had a very strong will, couldn't you just save up 200 a month until you got 20,000? And then couldn't you just buy the car outright cash and you would have saved 10,500? That would have been your money now, right? Now, in American society, isn't it, I want it today and I'll pay for it tomorrow? Right? So you don't do that. But if it is at all possible, think seriously about, if you can't afford to save that money up, well, you try and save up as much as you can and put it towards that price, so you only need to get maybe a $10,000 loan, because that would definitely reduce it. Now, to finish this question off, you're paying it over 5 years. Anybody who's ever bought a car, don't you normally pay it monthly? Sometimes you pay it bi-weekly, right? But normally it's monthly. So that's going to be 5 times 12. That is 60 payments. Now, what they then do is they take this fella here, and we're now going to find out what my monthly payment is. It's the 30,500 split into 60 payments. So you would go 30,500 divided by 60, and I'll call that $508. I know it's not exactly that, but yeah, who cares about 33 cents? So if you went in there and said, right, I'd like that $20,000 car, the guy will say, okay, yeah, here's the paperwork, get your credit rating. Ooh, not good risk here. Sorry, the best we can do is 10.5%, but we'll get you the car. You have to pay $508 a month for the next 5 years. And if that's not bad enough, do you know legally the finance company owns that car, not you? And if you stop paying that car, right, you stop paying $508 a month, can't they repossess it? Take it off you, sell it,
Hey,
get their
somebody
money
got
back.
kicked out of class and just messaged and asked if you can let them back in.
Oh,
Jade got kicked out.
well, I'm glad you paid attention. I don't get to see everything that's happening. Thank you. Is that not kind of insightful? I know that's an exaggerated situation, 10.5%, but it's not that exaggerated. Do you know payday loans? You know, the ones where you get your money and you pay them back next week, those kind of loans? Do you know the interest rate in them is in the hundreds percent? That's how, you know, if you waited a year to pay them back, which you never should, you'd have to pay them back twice what you borrowed, right? So the interest rate in payday loans works in that same thing. So we are going to do, have we got time? Just check. We've got time for a payday loan. You want a payday loan? Of course you do. Right. I'm going to use this formula in a different way. Okay. How much are you going to borrow in the payday loan? Give me a number. What do you want?
$50,000.
Oh, come on. Nobody would go to a payday loan and they'd laugh at you. Come on, give me a number that would make reasonable sense.
5,000.
What? Oh, God. All right. She asks for it. You go into a payday loan and you say, I'm borrowing 5,000. They'll say, oh, great. Have you got a job? Yes. How much do you make a month? Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it. I won't tell you the interest rate, neither will they. But you have to pay it back in 1 week. Right? So next Friday, you borrowed it on a Friday. Next Friday, you better pay that money back, right? That's the deal. You sign the contract. You got to do what the contract says. Otherwise, they can do all sorts of things. Can't they put a lien on your house, a lien on your assets? They'll get that money, trust me. I mean, in the olden days, guys would come round and break your legs. That's illegal now, so they do it differently now. They do it legally, but they will get their money. But 7 days. That's 7 out of 365. That is 0.0198. There, I'll round it off. That's what 7 days looks like as a decimal of a year, right? So tiny. Now, let's do a payday loan. The payday loan is $1 for every 100 that you borrow, right? So you borrow 100, they want $1. That's a very cheap payday loan. Trust me, some of them are worse than that. So you are going to pay $50 interest, aren't you? $1 a day, $50. We are going to use the same formula to calculate what the interest rate is. So 50 is equal to that times that times that. So there is going to be a little bit of math in it. So 5,000 times 0.0198 comes out to be, well, that's a very nice number. 99. Didn't realize it was going to be such a nice number. Go figure. Okay, this is the math. Think of it as an equation. What do I need to do to both sides to find R?
Divide.
Yeah. So I'm going to divide both sides by 99. And the answer I get is 0.55, and what's the other fives? So I'll just call it 0.55 because I've rounded off other places. And you might think, hey, that's not bad. Wait a minute. That's the interest rate as a decimal. %55 interest rate. Doesn't look so good now, does it? I borrowed 5,000. I only needed to pay them $50. God, that's cheap. No, it's not cheap. It's a 55% interest rate. Of course, you might want to pay it off over a longer time period. Like, I don't know why you would, but if you did, that gets worse. If you say, yeah, can I pay it off next month? Oh, sure, not a problem. Next month it's going to cost you $200 or $400 or $1,000. Do you see how it's just like a snowball effect? Debt gets you more debt, and then you're chasing your tail because you've spent so much money paying off last month's debt that you don't have enough money to live this month. So, advice, don't use payday loans. Get a good credit rating. Save up before you buy stuff. Right, all good advice.